In my opinion, A Hard Day's Night is the best Beatles album from their early period. For the purposes of this video, I will call their early period the albums released before Rubber Soul, because after that they started to play psychedelic rock and their sound evolved. But in the early days, they were a pop band. I remember the first time I listened to this album. I used to borrow Beatles CDs from my local library. One day I took this one out. I used to listen to it all the time. I found the songs to be very addictive. There were songs I didn't know as well. I knew the title track, and I knew Cant Buy Me Love, which is because there's this old Patrick Dempsey movie from the 80s named after that song where he pays a girl $1,000 to be his girlfriend for a week. And it was one of my favorite movies as a teenager, but we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the album A Hard Day's Night. This is the third studio album by the Beatles, released on July 10, 1964. The album is now celebrating 60 years. It's notable for being the soundtrack to the first feature film of the same name. This album marked a departure from their early work, featuring all original compositions by John Lennon and Paul McCartney, and the first Beatles album to feature entirely original songs and showcase their evolving musical style and sophisticated songwriting. So the album was a commercial success. It reached number one on the charts in both the US and the UK, and had lots of iconic tracks, which are A Hard Day's Night, Cant Buy Me Love, and I Love Her. I'll be talking about all those later. The movie and the album pretty much solidified the Beatles' status as this big phenomenon, and it demonstrated that they're very versatile, they're musicians, and they're also these cultural icons. So I'm going to start this video by doing a track-by-track analysis, and then I'm going to give you 10 reasons why I think this is the best album from their early period. So going through the songs, first song is Hard Day's Night. The opening chord of this track is one of the most famous in rock history. Like, you know the song like after like the first second. We've got great vocal performances by Lennon and McCartney, and the lyrics are about hard work and returning to a loved one. And George Harrison played the 12-string Rickenbacker, and this kind of add like a jangle, and kind of, people say, kind of created the idea of jangle pop. A lot of bands have used it later on, like the Byrds and many other bands. So it's an iconic song, just as the first song. Then we have I Should Have Known Better. This is written mostly by John Lennon, and this one has the harmonica riff, the upbeat tempo. The lyrics reflect love and regret. And this was featured in a movie during the train scene. I thought it was a catchy song. I like John's vocal performance, and I think the song is a classic. Now we have a couple of good ones. The next song is If I Fell. I think I heard this the first time when I listened to the album, back when I borrowed the CD, and this instantly became one of my favorites. It's a ballad with vocal harmonies by Lennon and McCartney. The lyrics are about falling in love, the fear of getting hurt, and it really highlights their ability of songwriting. I think it has one of the best vocal performances by John and Paul. And then I'm Happy Just to Dance With You, and this one is sung by George Harrison and written by Lennon and McCartney. And the song is straightforward. It's an expression of the pleasures of dancing and youthful romance, and it's not one of my favorites, actually. I like a lot of other George Harrison songs, but it's an okay song, but I like it. But here's the next song, And I Love Her. This is my favorite song on the album, and one of my favorite Beatles songs of all time, possibly in the top 5. One of McCartney's early standout ballads. It has that classical guitar arrangement, that melody. It's a simple love song, but I like the vocals, and I like the acoustic guitars. Then the next song, Tell Me Why. It's an up-tempo doo-wop type of song. It has some really great vocal harmonies, and the lyrics are about confusion and pleading in the context of a troubled relationship. So it's just, one of those what did I did wrong type of things. But it's a pretty cool song. It has this pop sound and upbeat tone. I like the song. And it's good, but then this goes into Cant Buy Me Love. And I mentioned this before from that movie where I was talking about. It's a poppy, radio-friendly track. I knew the song. I think I probably heard it on one of their greatest hits albums or something like that. It was a hit. It was written by Paul McCartney. It has like a bluesy feel, a catchy chorus, and It's a song about material wealth not buying true happiness or love, and has a really good guitar solo. That's another thing that stood out. So there's some more songs in this album. They're all really good ones. So Anytime at All was written by John Lennon. This has a really strong backbeat, really great rhythm, and this is about just unconditional love and support. And the band has a very energetic performance. I thought it was a good song, and I really like John's vocals in this one. This song, I'll Cry Instead. It's a country-tinged song, I guess you could call it that. John Lennon wrote it. The lyrics are about frustration and desire for an emotional release. In my opinion, I think one of the weaker songs, but it doesn't bring the album down. It's just, there has to be weaker ones. There's like 13 or 14 songs. So then there's Things We Said Today. This was written by Paul McCartney, and it features a minor key verse and a major key chorus. And I think that really makes it stand out. The lyrics are about memories and moments shared with a loved one, and one of my favorites from the second half of the album. Then after that is When I Get Home. This is an upbeat rock song by John Lennon. It's about returning home to a loved one. I thought it had a very upbeat and poppy sound. Not too bad. The penultimate song is You Can't Do That. Another John Lennon composition. This has really great vocal performance, really distinctive guitar riff. The lyrics deal with jealousy and possessiveness in a relationship. John Lennon did a lot of this. The lyrics are very bold, but it's not the worst I've ever heard from the Beatles. I think the lyrics haven't aged very well. It kind of shows how men used to be with their women. They're very possessive. Back in the 60s, but again, the Beatles have written worse songs in this context. And the last song, I'll Be Back. Closing tracks, the ballad written by John Lennon has a soft acoustic arrangement. The lyrics express a sense of vulnerability and longing. Structure is notable for its lack of a chorus, so it's kind of a unique song. So now, in my opinion, I think this is the best Beatles album of the early 1960s. So for several reasons. So I'm going to give you 10 reasons why I think it's the best, let me call it, pre-Rubber Soul album. Number one, all original compositions. So the first album, there's no cover songs. Basically, that's what it means. All songs written by Lennon and McCartney. And it really showed their talent. Number two, the iconic title track. And this has that famous guitar riff. You hear the opening chord, you know what the song is. It's one of those songs that within the first second you know it, and it's just an iconic track. And then number three is the cohesive sound. The album sounds very consistent. I mean, all the songs sound like they really fit on this album. It's rock and roll with pop melodies, and the songs are very memorable. Going into number four is the strong vocal performances. Lennon and McCartney's vocal harmonies are really at their peak on this album, and has some of their really great vocal performances. Two of my favorite songs, If I Fell and I Love Her. Number five, innovative instrumentation. I'm talking about George Harrison's 12-string Rickenbacker guitar, creating the jangle pop. So this possibly is like a proto new rock genre or something like that. And number six, cultural impact. This is the soundtrack to their first feature film, A Hard Day's Night. So it kind of had more of that cultural phenomenon and kind of cemented their status as global icons. So you got the music and you got the movie, and that kind of helped make them worldwide icons. So going to number seven, commercial success. Topped the charts in both the US and the UK, and kind of showed that they are a band that's going to be like a global band. Number eight, variety and depth. So we got some up-tempo rockers, ballads, mid-tempo tracks. So there's a lot of versatility, and it kind of goes against what I said before, where I said it's a cohesive album, but there's variety, but it's cohesive, and just both of them exist at the same time. Number nine, evolution of lyrics. It's they really should, starting to write about some different things. A lot of their songs about love and relationships and stuff, but A Hard Day's Night kind of like goes a little. Lastly, number 10, it has the replay value. It came out 60 years ago, it still holds up today. It's just a great album, and it stood the test of time. So those are my 10. Now, let me know, what do you think of A Hard Day's Night? What's your favorite pre-Rubber Soul Beatles album? I'm talking about the early ones, so let me know in the comments. In the meantime, here's a Beatles ranking. I did a while ago. I think it was like 2 years ago, so it may have changed at this point, but check it out. Thanks for watching. Please give this video a like, hit the bell for notifications. You can get notified every time I upload a video. You can find me at TikTok and Facebook. Links in the video description. See you in the next one.